After that, we will tell you all about the fire at Horsetooth last week.
And we will bring you updates on a new travel tourism class CSU is offering.
All this and more starting now on CTV, Channel 11. Late last week, Fort Collins fire authorities responded to a wildfire burning in the Laurie State Park. Fort Collins police have arrested and are currently holding 34-year-old Robert McGee on suspicion of second-degree arson and criminal mischief. He has no prior criminal history in Colorado. Investigators believe that McGee started this fire out of anger after an argument with his mother. The fire began around 11 in the morning Thursday and was completely contained by 4:30 that same afternoon. The damage caused by the fire was said to have burned more than 16 acres and costing more than $5,000 in resources.
CSU has approved renovations for the Andrew Clark Building, located at the heart of the CSU campus. The Clark Building has been standing since 1968 and is home to the College of Liberal Arts and is heavily utilized by the university as a whole. Although the total cost of the renovations is not currently known, CSU Vice President of University Operations Lynn Johnson told the Collegian the cost could be upwards of $145 million. These renovations plan to add 70,000 square feet to the Clark Building, as well as providing it with new study areas and classrooms. We'll have more information on the story as it develops.
For Fort Collins residents and students looking for an efficient, inexpensive way to travel from Fort Collins to Greeley, your search may be over. Greeley Transit has announced that a bus line will now be running from Fort Collins to Greeley, making a stop in Windsor as well. The bus, called the Pooter Express, was given a unanimous donation of $20,000 by the CSU Alternative Transportation Fee Advisory Board. This route will have 5 buses running 7 times a day, Monday through Friday. Although no official route has been set, the bus is said to be roughly following the path of the Pooter River connecting the University of Northern Colorado and CSU. In an email to the Rocky Mountain Collegian, Noah Fishman, vice chair of the Alternative Transportation Fee Advisory Board, said, "It simultaneously fills a demand, increases sustainability, and complements social justice."
The city of Fort Collins is currently moving to make a decision on what to do with the site of former CSU's football stadium, Hughes. The city took charge of the zoning in July and has plans to split the 168-acre piece of land in 2 halves. The city is recommending the west half be zoned into residential foothills and the east half be zoned into a low-density mixed-use neighborhood in hopes to keep a good portion of the land undeveloped. The zoning board will meet noon on Friday to hold a work session on what to do with the land. They will present their final idea to City Council on September 19th. This session will be open to the public for comments. We'll have more on this story as it develops. Tune in to CTV to find out more.
As summer comes to a close and campers get their last trips for the year, it's important to remember campfire safety.
Here in Fort Collins, we love the outdoors. Sometimes, however, wildfires interrupt our ability to enjoy the wilderness, but they can be a necessary and even beneficial occurrence as they are a natural part of the ecosystem and provide an important service for our outdoor areas.
They provide a lot of benefits like kind of restarting these ecosystems. They clear out a lot of the understory brush in kind of our lower elevation forests, like those closest to us in the kind of the lower front range, lower elevation areas.
Just last Thursday, there was a fire near Horsetooth Reservoir. It was on the smaller side and was 100% contained relatively quickly.
So we have wildfires from anywhere from April to September, October, right here in Colorado, and a lot of ways that's kind of penned in by times of snow or heavy rain.
As summer draws to a close and campers get their last trips in, it's important to remember to contain campfires to prevent forest fires.
Having a shovel, a pail of water, making sure that when you go to bed at night that fire is completely out, making sure it's out and cold, adding dirt to those hot embers, things like that.
Fire safety is extremely important, and it's vital that everyone does their part to stay safe and keep our camping grounds fire-free.
Due to a high level of mosquitoes infected with the West Nile virus, the city sprayed pesticides on the 8th of September. Fort Collins has reported that in the northeastern quadrant of the city, 70% of mosquitoes trapped were infected with West Nile virus. The spraying took place largely in central and northern Fort Collins, which encompasses the CSU campus. There was another date for spraying set for September 11th. However, due to a recent decline in bugs with the virus, the city will no longer be spraying on this date.
The Larimer County Coroner's Office has identified the victim of a fatal motorcycle crash that occurred in Poudre Canyon. 30-year-old Brent Machado of Bellevue was pronounced dead on the scene due to multiple blunt force injuries. The crash took place on Colorado Highway 14 near the 110-mile marker. Machado was the only fatality at the scene. However, the passenger he was with sustained injuries as well. His condition and identity have not yet been released by Colorado State Patrol. This accident was the fourth motorcycle fatality to occur in the Loveland-Fort Collins area since late June.
If you have noticed increased traffic on the I-25 between South Fort Collins and Denver, you could be seeing longer waits closer to Fort Collins. The 16-mile-long express lane expansion starting at Johnstown coming up to Fort Collins. This project will include overnight closures on Prospect and I-25. Traffic will be rerouted on the off-ramps and detour roads during closures. These closures could impact you if you are planning on attending CSU night football games in October or November. CDOT will be hosting an open house from 5:30 to 7 p.m. at the Colorado Welcome Center. Staff will be presenting information on construction, alternate routes, and taking any questions people have. We'll have more information on this topic as it develops. Students at CSU who are interested in taking culinary arts and tourism now have the opportunity to get some hands-on experience through Professor Christina Minahan's new course. Culinary tourism is a brand new course available for Colorado State University students this year. The course, taught by Professor Christina Minahan, educates students on culinary practices around the world and more.
One of the largest industries in the world, and culinary tourism has a huge impact as well. So the class looks at how tourism is developing in the sector. We'll talk about how it is impacted in communities and how they can really use it to brand and market. Also have a ton of restaurants, so they're seeing more restaurants.
That looks like such a fun and unique opportunity for any students who are interested in culinary tourism. Not everyone has the resources to gain experience like that. So if you are interested at all in culinary tourism and how food affects the economies of different countries, you can definitely consider enrolling.
After receiving an unacceptable rating on a restaurant inspection on the 28th of August, Torchy's Tacos is now back within compliance following another inspection Thursday. The first inspection came after a diner reported he and members of his family fell ill from eating there. Following this, Larimer County Department of Health and Environment learned the 8 employees at the store had been sick between the 20th and 25th of August. At least 9 other people have filed a complaint that they became sick after eating Torchy's Tacos during this time.
That is all we have for news this week. Please stay tuned for Ren Wadsworth with weather to find out if fall weather will be coming to Fort Collins.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
So we drowned the fire,
Yep.
stirred it, drowned it again, and now just feel if it's cold.
Yeah.
Cool.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
I know. I already posted it.
Taking a look at today, as you can see, it is bright and beautiful blue skies and hardly a cloud in sight. If we look at current conditions, it is 76 degrees right now, and the sunset looks like it's going to be approximately at 7:14 p.m. Taking a look at tonight's highs, Or we'll take another look at the weather today. So there's another blue sky. Kids were walking around. It was beautiful. Children found places to rest in the shade and relax. If we go ahead and look at tonight's highs, going down the I-25 corridor, it was 42 degrees in Fort Collins, 56 degrees in Denver, 56 degrees in Colorado Springs, and 56 degrees in Pueblo. So all the way up the I-25 corridor, it's 56 degrees except for in Fort Collins. Moving on to the mountain side of the state, it was going to be 46 degrees in Craig, 58 degrees in Vail, 58 degrees also in Grand Junction, 58 also in Gunnison, 42 in Telluride, and 53 in Alamosa. Moving on to the plain side, it was 56 degrees in Sterling, 64 in Burlington, 53 in Lemont, and only 65 in Lamar. If we go ahead and go on to tomorrow's forecast, it's going to be a high of 80 and a low of 52. It's going to be cloudy, but it's still going to be warm. There's a 20% chance of rain, and that sunset's going to move back into 7:16 p.m. If we go ahead and look at tomorrow's highs, in Fort Collins, it's going to be 80. In Denver, it's going to be 85. In Colorado Springs, it's going to be 84. And going all the way down that I-25 corridor, it's going to be a whopping 92 in Pueblo. If we go back into the plain side, it's going to be 86, 86 in Sterling, and 86 in Lemont. 90 in Burlington, and 93 in Lamar. Moving over to the mountain side of the state, 68 in Craig, 64 in Vail, 78 in Grand Junction, 70 in Gunnison, 57 in Telluride, and 70 in Alamosa. We're going to go on to the 5-day forecast. Wednesday it's going to be cloudy and a high of 80 and a low of 52. Thursday is going to be a high of 78 and a low of 49. Those clouds are still in sight. On Friday, it's holding out for that sun. It's going to be 82 and 52 as a low. On Saturday, it's going to be 89 and a low of 55. And on Sunday, that sun just won't leave. It's going to be a high of 90 and a low of 57. So to answer Delaney's questions, no, it doesn't look like fall is coming anytime soon to Fort Collins or to anywhere in Colorado. Looks like summer wants to hold out for a couple more weeks. And that's all I have for you today, Rams. But stay tuned because next, Sydney Wicker and Ethan Bird are going to tell you everything you need to know about sports.
They said I couldn't dream. Called me a piece of trash and swore that's all I'd ever be. Said a bottle couldn't see the ocean. Give up. Go back to the dumpster. But I didn't listen. I made my way. And now, I am what I've always wanted to be.
Welcome back from the break, Rams, into another week of the Red Zone. I'm Sydney Wicker.
And I'm Ethan Bird. Well, the Broncos and Raiders kicked off Monday Night Football, and both teams came in with a lot of question marks. The biggest being the Raiders' absence of Antonio Brown. However, the Raiders showed AB they didn't need him from the beginning and delivered a dominant win, 24-16 over the Broncos.
Yeah, Ethan, it was a great win for the Raiders, but the Broncos definitely did not perform in a lot of areas where we thought they would, especially looking at the defense. I have a couple keys that I'm going to walk us through looking at what the defense really missed out. First being that there was no pressure on the quarterback. Derek Carr had all the time in the world to throw that ball. He had all the time in the pocket. He was able to move around, and that's because the Broncos gave it to him. And another key that we're going to look at is utilizing Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. They were not utilized at all in the game last night. Miller had 5 tackles and Chubb only had 3. So it was a silent night for the defense. And when you look at Vic Fangio, a very defensive guy, you'd expect a lot more as his first game as the head coach from this defense. But the defense was pretty much nowhere to be found. And that was the first time since 2014 that the Broncos haven't had a tackle on the quarterback.
I love that you brought up Vic Fangio because I know myself and a lot of Colorado natives were excited to have a guy who's been a head coach on the NFL, or not head coach, excuse me, a defensive coordinator in the NFL for over the past decade. And he finally got his head coaching debut, and he kind of dropped the ball in terms of the defense. So this is a defensive team. It's been a defensive team for the past, decade or so? And it was like night and day. It was not the defense that we're used to, and I think Vic Fangio has a lot of work to do with them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But the offense definitely did not perform in last night's game. Ethan?
No, they did not. Yeah, they had 344 total yards and 18 first downs, but just accumulating offense isn't enough. You've got to score. You can't settle for field goals like they did. They only found themselves in the end zone once. So here's a couple keys I have for them going into next week. You've got to feed the super sophomores. And by super sophomores, I'm talking about Phil Lindsay and Cortland Sutton. Phil is one of the most exciting young quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Everybody loves to watch him. There's no reason that he should be splitting as many carries as he does with Royce Freeman. Royce Freeman should be in there because he's a bigger back. He's a little bigger than Phil. Phil can't help that, Royce should only be in there when they're either in third and short or goal line situations. Otherwise, if you have open field, I want Philip Lindsay in there. He's a playmaker. He's one of the faster guys in the league. He's going to find himself in the end zone if you give him a chance. Speaking of finding guys in the end zone, Cortland Sutton on the receiving side. He did not have a touchdown last night, and that's not something you want to see. The dude's basically Demaryius Thomas 2.0. He can put in work if he needs to, if you give him the chance. He impressed me last night, pulling in 7 catches on 8 targets for 120 yards, but he's got to find himself in the end zone. And second, on to my next point, please, for the love of God, protect Joe Flacco. He was sacked 3 times for 19 yards. Yeah, 3 sacks isn't a lot, but they all came at pivotal points in drives that looked like they were going to end up in scoring. You can't have your quarterback sacked on third down. It ends all chances of keeping a drive going, and that demoralizes a whole offense. He was hit 5 times. He never looked comfortable in the pocket. And Joe Flacco, he's a veteran. That's why they brought him in. He can pick apart a defense if you give him the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like how you first brought up Philip Lindsay. Give that guy the ball and he'll go with it. And that's something that they didn't really utilize with him. They tried a little bit and it worked for a couple yards, but nothing super impressive, and that's where the Broncos really lacked. And I know they've been really slim at the tight end position, but they have Noah Fant, this guy from Iowa, and he's been key, and he did a good job in the game last night. He wasn't bad.
He just had that one penalty.
He did have a penalty there, but you have your wide receiver, Emmanuel Sanders, just coming off his injury, but he's been performing really well. He's the one who had the touchdown last night, and I think you really got to utilize those guys, but it all starts when you protect your quarterback. Like we said, Derek Carr had all the time in the world that he needed because he was getting protected. You protect Joe Flacco, and you'll get the same thing, and that's essentially why they won the game.
That is.
Yeah. Well, from one rivalry game to the next, the volleyball team is preparing to take on the CU Buffs this week, and Ethan, we have some key players to look out for. So who's on your volleyball watch list?
First up, we have to start with some CU players. For my first pick, it's 6'2" middle blocker Sterling Parker. The freshman has been an active part of CU's net defense with 17 blocks on the season. She's also a threat on offense, recording double-digit kills twice on the young season.
Yeah, and outside hitter JUSTINE SPANN has also been coming in hot for the Buffs. SPANN is 5'8" and just set a record-breaking kills in a match for the Buffs with 21. She's also had a dominant performance in helping her team beat number 5 ranked Illinois with 16 kills and 1 block. Watch out for number 8.
Now let's move on over to some CSU players. My first pick, 5'10" redshirt junior BREANA RUNNELS is going to be a pivotal part of the CSU offense going into the showdown doubleheader. RUNNELS recorded 68 kills on the season, hitting 22.3%. Last year, the outside hitter had 18 kills against the Buffs. If she can replicate that, I think the Rams will have a chance.
Yeah, absolutely. And another player to look out for outside of RUNNELS is Katie OLEKSAK. She's been key for the Rams. The senior setter had 44 digs in the Rams' sweep over 22 ranked Florida State. OLEKSAK has been huge offensively when it comes to dishing the ball to her teammates. OLEKSAK will definitely be someone to watch out for the Rams.
And I'll tell you what, Sydney, I am super excited for these 2 games. You get 2 showdowns for basically the price of 1. And who doesn't love a Rocky Mountain showdown? Both teams are coming in hot. CU at 6-0, CSU at 5-1, and I really think we can get a good game out here. They're both coming off beating ranked opponents, and I can't wait.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be really exciting. For the first time ever, they're actually going to be competing for a trophy, so I'm excited to see what these ladies put on.
Well, sticking to the court, but changing the sport. CSU men's basketball secured a big verbal commitment from Isaiah Rivera. The Geneseo, Illinois native is listed at 6'5", 190 pounds. The three-star guard averaged 28 points a game in only his junior season. The guard could be seen in a Rams uniform for the 2020-2021 season.
And just today, CSU football defensive lineman Ellison Hubbard was placed on the Eckridge National Team of the Week after 2 sacks and 5 tackles in the Western Illinois game on Saturday. Hubbard is now on this week's list with players also from Auburn, Alabama, Oklahoma State, and much more.
And now, Rams, it is time for another week of Tell Me I'm Stupid. So, Cindy, am I going to be calling you stupid this week?
Well, I guess we'll have to see, Ethan, but I need you to tell me. Do you think I'm stupid, but college football is way more entertaining than the NFL?
You know what, Sydney? I woke up this morning thinking about this segment, wondering how stubborn I wanted to be tonight. But I am so steadfast about this that I can't even play devil's advocate. College football is way more entertaining than the NFL. I have to agree with you on this. Can't call you stupid on it. Wish I could, but the amount of heart that you get out of these players they're working for their dreams still. And that's something special you can watch. You can watch guys who came from nothing and they're putting together something in order to be successful. And I think that's what makes college football so special.
Yeah, absolutely. I was watching the Texas and LSU game. Both of these teams almost had 600 yards, each of them, in that game. That is huge offensively when you look at that. And those are college quarterbacks. And to me, seeing that, I was like, oh my goodness, how can these two teams do that? But it was so impressive to see that at the college level. And like you said, you see all the liveliness in these guys. You see all the fun that they have on the field. It's so entertaining for me to watch college football, where at the NFL level, I don't see it as much. It becomes more about the money.
Oh yeah, and well, especially if we're talking about Antonio Brown. You don't get any of that stuff with college players. There's no drama there. But I mean, you look at this last week of NFL football, you can pick out what, 4 or 5 games that were super exciting. But you can look back at this week of college football and everything was exciting.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Michigan versus Army, CU versus Nebraska, some very exciting games for college football. But Rams, that is all we have for you this week. But to stay updated on sports throughout the week, you can follow us on Twitter or Instagram at sports_CTV.
But don't go anywhere, because Janae Hancock has all the details on Ram events that you could be a part of. Entertainment is coming up next.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. You're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Yeah, I saw that coming. That will throw you off track. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Good evening, Rams, and welcome back. All things entertainment, I'm Janae Hancock here to give you the Entertainment 411 on Tuesday nights. So, let's get started. Since the school year just started, I know some students are already stressed out, or you may just be bored and need something to do. Ram Events is back yet again with another activity on campus. This Thursday, September 12th, Tie-Dye will be on the plaza 1 to 3 p.m. Take a break from your homework and delay that afternoon nap to relieve stress and be creative. Now, if you're thinking, oh, I don't get paid until Friday, so I can't buy the supplies, Ram Events is for the people. Supplies will be provided. Just come ready to put your artistic skills to work. And if you have time, feel free to make me one because I do have class. Moving on. The Mid-Autumn Festival will celebrate the Chinese culture September 13th, 6 to 8 p.m. and September 15th, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Free pizza, sodas, mooncakes, Kung Fu demonstration, and musical performances. If you want to learn more about the different parts of China, this is the place to be. And if you just want to learn more in general, go to cicsu.colostate.edu. And if you're into art, why are you not at the Gregory Alakar Museum of Art? I went to the museum to check out the Zora J. Murph's Remarking the Mark exhibit. Check it out.
Images used to reinforce social and cultural constructs, including race and criminality. But who is the man behind the work?
You know, you as the artist can have sort of an idea of what your work means, you know, and what purpose it serves for you. But once you put it out into the world, you have to, on some level, relinquish some of that control. And so, you know, with the work, I can point somebody in a direction, but I feel it's never my responsibility to, I guess, try to direct them into like believing something, right? I'm just, you know, asking them to look, and then through the looking, you know, I'm just posing just questions.
Zora J. Murph is an assistant professor, artist, and photographer whose work has been exhibited nationally and internationally.
This work is made from stories that are not mine. It's important for me to acknowledge that. But at the same time, they are stories for many reasons that I feel connected to, that I feel are important to be told and retold, to acknowledge and not forget.
Remarking the Mark records racial violence through images and focuses on how the images can be used to interrupt collective belief.
What interests me most is his ability to use purely pictures with very minimal, if any, text to convey multiple stories at the same time that also are part of a much larger story. And the fact that it's all very currently relevant and always has been relevant, it follows this huge timeline. Just the way his work was able to encapsulate all that with so little was really impressive to me.
As an artist, I'm interested in stories. Not only the telling of stories, but figuring out how stories connect.
This one stood out for me because it brought up issues that I think a lot of people maybe in the art community aren't looking at, and it was a really great opportunity to have Zora Murph come in and speak about it, and it was one of those exhibits that really made you think.
Murph wants CSU students to take a look at his work and think, and hopefully gain a deeper understanding for the world we live in today.
That was such a fulfilling exhibit, and the best part about it was I didn't have to pay a thing. If you want more information on the free exhibits, visit artmuseum.colostate.edu. What's the feed? Every week I will cover the most talked about stories on social media for the week. So let's get into the T of 3. Number 3, it has officially been a year since rapper Mac Miller's sudden death. And though it is still hard for fans to believe, relief is in the air because a man has been charged with his passing. And at number 2, It Chapter 2 is out and the memes are coming to a social media near you. I'm personally terrified of clowns, but I do plan on seeing this film. So please clown around somewhere else with the spoilers. The movie made $91 million in domestic sales for the first weekend. So grab your popcorn and check it out. And at number 1, our childhood is coming back. Hilary Duff has officially announced that Lizzie McGuire is returning. And this is truly what dreams are made of. Fans tweeted with excitement after the Instagram announcement, but she also just announced her childhood sweetheart and best friend, Adam Lambert, who also plays Gordo, will not be her love interest. Will we even watch the show now? The answer is yes. I will definitely tune in to see where Lizzie is now. Well, Rams, that's all I have for you all tonight, but don't worry, I will be back next Tuesday with more entertainment. But make sure you all tune in tomorrow for this semester's first local beach show. It's been real, Rams. Good night.